There's a question I get from almost every person I talk to. They ask it out loud. More often, they don't. But it's sitting there, underneath everything else they're asking me. What happens if it doesn't work? I want to give you an honest answer to that question in this episode, not the reassuring version, not the scary version, the real one. Because it's the question that's keeping a lot of people from making a decision one way or the other. And you can't move forward until you've looked it in the eye. Welcome to the Franchise Champion Show. I'm Alan Regala, former G1 athlete, Stanford engineer, and franchise owner who built a multi-million-dollar exit. I created this show to help driven individuals like you find the right franchise and learn how to build wealth and reclaim your time. The fear of failure isn't one thing. It's different depending on who you are and where you are in life. For some people, it's the money. If you're putting a meaningful percentage of your savings into a franchise, losing that money is a real risk with real consequences. And that fear is legitimate and deserves to be taken seriously. For other people, it's the embarrassment, especially for high achievers who have built their identity around always succeeding. Their career has been one steady progression, and this is the first time they're stepping outside the pattern. If it doesn't work, it's not just a financial loss. It's a story they have to tell people who've always seen them succeed. For others, it's about their family and where they are in life. If you're 35, worst case scenario, you go back and get a job and rebuild. That's a hard year, but it's a year. If you're 55 and you're 5 years from retirement, a failure could push retirement out 10 or 15 years. That's a completely different equation. All three of those fears are valid, and they lead to the same question. What actually happens if it doesn't work? Most people picture franchise failure as one thing. The business goes under. You lose everything. You're back to zero. Or worse. That version happens, but it's not the most common version. Here's what I actually see more often. The business is running. It's producing some revenue, maybe reasonable revenue, but the profits aren't where the owner hoped they'd be. Or the owner is in the business way more than they had planned. They wanted to run this semi-absentee. They wanted to hire a team, spend their time on growth, maybe open a second location. Instead, they're behind the counter at the sandwich shop every day. Every single day. They feel stuck. They can't hire someone to replace themselves because they don't feel like they have enough revenue to support that hire. But they can't grow the revenue because they're the one doing all the work on a daily basis. And they don't have time to focus on marketing or team building or the things that would move the business forward. I can tell you about a real one that I experienced myself. I met the owner of a pet retail franchise recently. A great little storefront. They sell a unique dog food that's made by the franchisor. And they also do home delivery. I was surprised when he showed up at my door with my order. This was the owner of the business, delivering the food himself after hours. We had a great conversation. He clearly enjoyed being a part of the community, and he clearly cared about his customers. But he was the one running the shop during the day, doing the marketing when he could, and delivering the food personally at night. There was no one else. If that's what he wanted, if being the guy at the shop and part of the neighborhood is his retirement gig, that's completely valid. But if he had bigger goals coming in, and if he'd pictured a real business he could grow and eventually sell, this is what stuck looks like. Not catastrophic, not the version people picture in their nightmares, but not what they signed up for either. This is the more common face of it didn't work. The owner ends up stuck in undermaking. And if they decide to sell, it's usually an asset sale. They're recouping some of the initial investment on the territory. It's not zero, but it's not what they were hoping for. I don't know if he'd call it a failure, but if he had different expectations coming in, he might. The question worth asking is why? What led to that outcome? Because that's where the lesson is. There are a few things. The first is mindset going in. If your goal is to have a team of people doing the work, so you're not stuck in the day-to-day, you have to start the business that way from day one. You need to plan for hiring. You need to invest in that hiring from the beginning. And that is an expense. It's the expense people cut first when they're trying to save money at launch. They think, I'll just work the register or make the sandwiches myself for a while. That'll save on payroll. And it does in the short term. But what they're actually spending is their time. Time they should be spending on marketing, growing the business, on building the systems that would let them eventually step out. They save a few $1,000s in payroll, and they lose the year that would have gotten them to real growth. The second thing is following the model. The franchisor almost always has a playbook. They tell you how much to spend on marketing, tell you what staff you should hire and when. They tell you what the early months should look like. The people who ignore that playbook or who decide they know better on day one are the ones I most often see end up stuck. Because the model is built on real data from real owners who came before them. Franchisor knows what happens when you underspend on marketing in month 2. You don't. The third thing is the fit itself. And this is where a lot of the outcome gets decided before someone even signs. Before I get into the fit piece, I want to mention something quickly. I built a tool called the Franchise Owner Fit Assessment. 15 questions on your financial and ownership readiness. It only takes 5 minutes and gives you an honest picture of where you are. If you want to know where you're at before you go any further, that's the place to start. You'll find it at athlete2owner.com/fit. Now back to it. When a franchise doesn't work, it's fair to ask whether it was the brand, the operator, or the fit between them. Sometimes it's the brand. It happens. Maybe the model was tied to a trend that faded and the franchisor didn't pivot. Maybe the franchisor isn't focused on their franchisee's success and support falls apart. Maybe the model itself has structural inefficiencies. These are real failures on the franchisor's side. But honestly, in my experience, that's not the most common cause. Most of the time, the brand is fine. The issue is either the operator, the fit, or both. Here's what I mean by fit. You can have a good operator and a good brand that just aren't right for each other. The person's skill set doesn't match what the actual business requires day to day. The culture of the brand doesn't match the culture of the person. The model is built for someone who wants to run one location, and this person wants to scale to 5. When that mismatch exists, motivation drops. And when motivation drops, effort drops. And when that effort drops, the results follow. Now, do you blame the operator for being lazy at that point? Or do you blame the mismatch for killing the motivation? At the end of the day, both are true. You have to work hard to succeed in any business. But you're way more likely to work hard when it feels like the right business. That's why fit matters so much. It's not just about picking a business you can operate. It's about picking one you'll actually want to operate the next 10 years. And once you're in it, the accountability piece kicks in. You have to own it. Follow the systems, use support, do the work when things are hard. Because no one is going to make your business successful except you, not even the franchisor. For people who come in thinking a franchise means the business is handed to you or that you can just turn a key and watch it run, that expectation is the setup for the exact kind of failure we've been talking about. If you're listening to this and thinking, okay, I hear you, but how do I actually avoid becoming that stuck and undermaking owner? Here's the practical answer. First, get the right fit at the start. That means understanding your own skill set, your goals, your interests, and your investment level, and matching those to a business that actually fits. Not a business you like as a customer, a business you'll do well as an operator. This is where working with a coach helps. You can do it on your own. Some people do, but you're likely to have blind spots you can't see. And there are things about the industry you just don't know. The goal of a good coach is to help you find a business that uses your skills and gives you the potential to hit your financial goals at your investment level. Something you can wrap your arms around and get excited about, not because you love the space, but because you love the idea of owning something and building something. Second, do the validation calls right. Talk to multiple owners, high performers, middle performers, and this is the part most people skip, people who are struggling. Talk to the ones who are underperforming. Get a sense for who they are, what their mindset is, what they're putting into it, what they think about the franchisor. And then look at yourself honestly. Are you more like the high performers, disciplined, accountable, willing to do hard things? Or do you have more in common with the ones who are stuck? It's a hard question to sit with, but it's one of the most valuable exercises in the entire process. Third, plan to follow the model. Especially at the beginning, trust the playbook. Spend what the franchisor tells you to spend on marketing. Hire when they tell you to hire. You'll have plenty of room to optimize later. Right now, execute the plan that's been tested with hundreds of owners before you. Fourth, know what you're signing up for. This is a hardworking, hands-on business, especially in year one. If you're expecting easy or passive or hands-off, this is not the right path. You'll run into problems. You'll have hard weeks. And the response to those hard weeks has to be, I own this. Let me figure it out. I want to talk directly to whoever is listening to this that feels gripped by the fear of failure. Fear usually comes from the unknown. And the way through fear, in most every case, is education, learning, understanding what you're actually facing so you can make a real decision instead of a scared one. There are things you can control in franchise ownership and things you can't. Worrying about the things you can't control is a waste of your energy. So you focus on the things that you can. If you're absolutely paralyzed by the fear, if you truly can't shake it no matter what you learn, this might not be for you. And that's okay. Franchising and business ownership isn't for everybody. There's no shame in deciding it's not your path. But I want to be straight about something else too. If you're putting every single dollar you have into this and there's no cushion and there's no support system to catch you if it doesn't work, this may not be the right time. If failure means going hungry or losing your home, the math is different. A calculated risk means you can absorb the downside. If the worst case is that you have to go back and get a job or move in with the family for a while or start rebuilding, it's a hard year, but you'll be fine. If the worst case is something more serious than that, it might not be the right season in life for it. And that's not a failure of nerve, it's just an honest self-assessment. For most of the people I work with, that's not the situation. They have savings, they've got options, they have people that would help them if things went sideways. And if that's you, keep listening. There's risk in everything, including your job. People know that a job is not a guaranteed thing. Your employer doesn't have to keep you around, and I'm sure you've seen this happen to people around you, or maybe it's happened to you already. Owning your own business is a lot of hard work. But if you're someone who's used to working hard for someone else, this is your chance to do that work for yourself. You do have to take a leap. But if you have a track record of success in what you've done before, chances are you'll be successful here too, as long as you're willing to put in the work and learn what you need to learn. Most people I talk to aren't paralyzed by fear. Most people are in the middle, medium risk tolerance, nervous but curious. And that's completely normal. That's most of the people I work with. And here's the reframe I want you to sit with. It's not just rolling the dice. This is a calculated risk. You get to choose the industry. You get to choose the brand, the model. You get to see the day-to-day of what ownership looks like. And you get to talk to people who've done it and are in it right now. You get to run the numbers before you commit. That's not gambling. That's making an informed decision with eyes wide open. Your excitement about owning something and controlling your own future has to be greater than your fear of failing. If it is, you can do this. If it isn't, it's not the right path. And one last thing, you are not alone in this. The franchisor is incentivized for you to succeed because they only make money when you make money. And there's a whole network of other franchisees doing exactly what you're doing who face the same hard weeks and figure them out. You get to bet on yourself, and you get a support system built into the bet. It's a very different picture than most people carry when they're afraid. If you're wrestling with the what if it doesn't work question, and you want to know exactly where you stand, the Franchise Owner Fit Assessment is the next step. 15 questions, 5 minutes, honest answers. You can find it at athletetoowner.com/fit. Check out the show notes. If you're ready to have a real conversation about all this, you can book an intro call with me directly at athletetoowner.com/ready. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. I'm Alan Regala, helping you become a franchise champion. See you in the next one.